Мы рассказываем, типа, что было прикольно, не знаю, без тем просто не бесплатно.
Okay, guys, are we ready to party?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. All right, thanks. So, just asking regarding the slides.
Here's a scroll wheel.
The scroller. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so hi people, nice to meet you here. I really have a very positive impression of this place. Like it's a very creative way to use something. How to say? Something old, something that used to be maybe meaningful before, by recreating, like reconstructing the meaningfulness around it. So just a short presentation. So my name is Vlad, and I'm a social entrepreneur, also a policy entrepreneur, and a cryptoneur. So I'm working with cryptocurrencies from Stockholm, and I'm partly here today because I know Adomas over there, as you can see, intellectual type of person. And so I'm very happy to be here with all of you. It feels as a personal privilege. So, and also I just want to say I have my girlfriend here, Iti, who's also gonna speak after me, basically. So the thing is like this: I'm gonna speak about decentralized citizenships and network states, and why this can be a very good thing for, let's say, 21st century, and how it can improve things like democracy and governance and community activism and so on. Now, before I start my presentation, I would like all of you can discuss two and two together or in larger groups as you're sitting here on the sofa. How do you understand the terms like citizen and citizenship? What kind of words, associations are you getting in your head when you hear or read the word, let's say, citizen or citizenship? Just take like 1 minute for that. All right, I will count the time.
Passport.
Identity.
Refugees.
I mean, you can have a more discussion now with yourself, and then we can take it together. Like, okay, after 1 minute. All right.
Since you know what's going on there.
Я рассматриваю современное гражданство как подписка на сервис. Ты сервис становится, покупаешь технологии, ты умеешь их использовать, если сервис говно, ты переезжаешь.
I know that I know.
Есть еще как бы другая часть, что есть какие-то культурные
I would call citizenship a gray area.
С которыми говорю сантимента, но непосредственно.
Yes, that's. Like come on bus, come on language.
Это не только в Литве, это везде.
Okay, people, time is flying fast when you have fun.
Yeah, I have a short.
Just a couple of words, like randomly. How do you understand the words like citizenship and citizens?
He has a great idea.
I consider modern citizenship as a subscription for a service. So when you don't like any service and there is lots of other choices, you can change the service. So you pay taxes or you do whatever like is meaningful for the society in another place if you don't like the service you was in. So pragmatically positioned that is a subscription.
All right. Thank you for that very elaborated answer. Any more thoughts? Okay.
Yeah. It's the best description I've heard in my life. I have to say that. For me, I also want to expand that it's always a gray area. Because you can be a citizen of one country, resident of one, and you can change your subscription. So thank you for that.
I have to say the idea it's identity. So it's the thing that citizenship, that the thing that helps me to identify me like belonging to one or other state.
All right. Thank you for that as well. Any more thoughts? Any more associations? Ideas?
I think the limitation is big nowadays. I think there's a lot of potential to to go more, yeah, there's potential to go other ways, but I think the minds are very limited, and also the structures right now are very limited, but also sometimes those limits, they lead to big creativity.
Exactly, and this is partly why we are having these presentations to kind of unlimit ourselves and be more creative in our mindset. I would say partly because to history, the word citizen, citizenship has changed a lot, and that's what I want to start my presentation with by before going into
Just scroll with me.
Scroll.
Sorry, down. Sorry, my bad. Thank you. So, in order to explain to you what is the word, the meaning of decentralized citizenship, so I have to first explain what we mean with decentralization and what we mean with citizenship. So for the start, that something is decentralized, decentralization in this sense, we speak about more modern technology, but it's meant that individuals, organizations can do something together, can exchange things, cooperate without some kind of a public authority like a government institution, or with some kind of a, let's say, private middleman like a bank. So that's, for example, the whole point with, let's say, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. There is no government, behind Bitcoin. It's directly created from the bottom up, and people can transfer the currency. There is no bank, you don't need a bank account to transfer Bitcoin between two parts, so to say. So that's the meaning of, decentralized. And now when we speak about citizenship, in a more, let's say, modern sense, what's usually mentioned like in research is that the term citizenship is today more about, how to say, we like most of us around the world, we associate citizenship with nations, like with states and so on. And historically, how to say, the word citizen comes from the word city. That's the historical connection. So if you look on history, the first citizens in the history of humanity, in the history of our planet, were living in what today is, for example, Iraq, Syria, Greece, Italy, Albania, Spain, and so on. Because this is like the first cities were developed like in, for example, in the area of Mesopotamia, where you have, let's say, Iraq and Iran today. Then you had this idea of citizenship like in the city-states like Athens, and later in the Roman Republic. So this is kind of a heritage that is still alive with us today. It's based on kind of similar ideas, similar principles. And just to go back to research, what is mentioned is that every modern citizenship, in a sense of, let's say, nationalities, in the sense that you are considered to be a member of a political nation, it has like three dimensions. So you have the legal dimension, which means that you have certain freedoms and rights, like you have freedom to organize an NGO, or you have rights to healthcare, so when you go to the hospital. Courts, the rule of law and those types of functions. Then you have the participation, the participative part, which is, for example, that you exercise your rights to when you vote during elections, or maybe you are doing some community service, or maybe even you are, let's say, working for the military or the police. And then there is the third dimension, which is more about affections, more about identification. So, for example, that, okay, let's say I'm a citizen of Sweden, or I'm a citizen of Peru, I'm a citizen of Japan, or it can be also that I'm a citizen of Kaunas, so as well, or so it's on a personal level. So these are the three, how to say, the three dimensions that are usually like mentioned in the research. And so now when we speak about decentralized citizenships, so idea is basically that you have these dimensions, or at least some of them, but without the government, without some public institution, that people can create their own systems for community belonging, for activism, for cooperation, for economic interactions, for let's say exchange. It can be both at the global level, it can be at the local level. That you also have your ID, like in a more digital sense. So instead of, let's say, having a piece of paper like a passport, you maybe have your decentralized citizenship on your smartphone or on some other device. So basically that you can actually have some kind of citizenship even if you, for some reason, don't have any support from any government. Maybe you're a stateless person or political refugee or similar, but still you can be active in a certain community, in a certain framework, so to say. And one example I want to show you from my own personal first experience is a community called SEEDS. Now, SEEDS is about, the biological term and so on, but it's also an abbreviation for like sowing equitable, ecological, decentralized societies. And in the SEEDS community, the idea is that the citizenship is about ecology and climate and environment and sustainability. So the idea is basically that people around the world, if they are members of the SEEDS community, they can practice things that are considered to be good for, let's say, agriculture, for food security, for interhuman cooperation, for let's say, planetary well-being, for climate transformation, sustainability, and so on. And the interesting thing here, from based on the SEEDS experience, is that the system is the following: that when you join the SEEDS community, you start your journey as a visitor. Okay, so you're not a citizen directly. You start as a visitor. You have certain rights as a visitor, but you don't have the full rights as a citizen. So in order to become a citizen, you need to show more engagement. You need to show more commitment to the community. You need to cooperate with more people. You need to start projects. You need to maybe write some articles. Maybe you need to grow some vegetables in your yard or something like that. And after some time, you can become a resident. Then you have some more rights, more, access to the community. And then the final stage is that you become a citizen. And when you become a citizen, then you also have more, let's say, rights and possibility to contribute to the overall development of the community, like regarding how much of our money we should spend on certain projects, which kind of, let's say, programs, which kind of tools should be used for the network operations. So that's just one example how things can work in practice. So what's now happening around the world at the moment is that there is a new concept that is now being emerging from very theoretical ideas to a more practical level of engagement. And this is called the network state. And these are some of the examples. Now, in order for me to explain to you what the network state is, I can start by explaining some of the basic historical ideas and concepts when it comes to the nation state. So the idea of the nation state, like in the, let's say, late 18th century, during the 19th century, American Revolution, French Revolution, revolutions in Europe, like during the 19th century. So the idea was, okay, that if a group of people, they want to create a nation, then they should have a state that works for them. So the state exists for the nation exists for the state, so vice versa. Okay? Now, the idea with the network state is that a state exists for the network, and a network, as a decentralized community, is having a state, its own system. But without the government, without actually involving government institutions or public institutions. And one of the creators of this idea of the network state, his name is Balaji Srinivasan. He's a tech entrepreneur. He's been working with cryptocurrencies. He's also presenting himself as a philosopher. to be honest, I read this book. It's called The Network State. I don't agree in every point, but I think in general it's a very insightful book to read. I can show you more information later. So together with some other people that are now popular in this world of Web3 and decentralization and Game B and how to improve our world by using decentralized technology like blockchain and cryptocurrencies. So now this idea of network states is emerging. And the interesting thing here is that it reflects the fact that decentralization is also about pluralism. Because, for example, a network state doesn't have to be geographically limited as a, let's say, nation state. Because a network state can have members in many parts of the world at the same time. And also another thing is that network states and communities can develop by through ideas that they want to specialize on a certain development, on certain factors. Let's say, for example, that you are a very ecologically minded person and you want to create a network state regarding climate and environment. Or maybe you're a very cultural person, you want to create a network state for cultural creative work. Or maybe you're a person who, let's say, you're committed to a certain local area and you want to create more like a private city or a decentralized community city. So it all depends on your personal interests and beliefs and ambitions. Like, for example, the cabin here, they're creating a network state where people are living in this kind of older cabins, like wooden cabins in the forest, and there they can be very high-tech entrepreneurs, work with crypto, but then they can also spend time in nature, meditate, and do Zen and yoga and that kind of stuff. And there, for example, there's the case of Afropolitan network state. So the guy who is behind it, he wants to basically unite more people from Africa that are more, let's say, cosmopolitan in their mindset, who have experience of living around the world, so that they can have some kind of a community based on such experiences, So that, for example, people from Africa can help each other when they are in America or in Europe, so that nobody feels alone and excluded, so to say. And from this talk about decentralized citizenships and network states, I also want to briefly introduce you the concept of the bioregions. And here you have to understand that bioregion can be also public, and it can be also decentralized. It can be, let's say, more independently created. But the core idea is here that let's say, modern nations, but also states in general, are sometimes simply too big for certain things, too small for other things. When you speak about global problems, risks, and challenges. So the idea of bioregion is that, imagine if people could organize themselves when it comes to environment and climate and sustainability. So meaning, for example, that I, who live in Stockholm, I should now be in the same bioregion as you here in Kaunas. And when it comes to things like shared environment, like the Baltic Sea region, we should be able, as citizens of the bioregion, to take decisions instead of, let's say, Swedish and Lithuanian governments doing that for us. Kind of that's the point, that if governments simply are not efficient enough to deal with climate change and environmental problems, then there are some other ideas, some other solutions how to solve that. When I speak about sovereignty, action, and resources. And I also just want to show you one of my own ideas. So this is Norrland, northern Sweden. So it's a region, official, public region. Now, Norrland is around 60% of the territory of Sweden, but only 10% of the population is living there. Now there is a trend that the region is trying to attract more people to come up to northern Sweden to live there, partly because there are these mines with like rare earth minerals, for example, and similar. So one of my proposals is, like, imagine attracting people from different decentralized communities that have their own decentralized citizenships and systems of governance, like decentralized democracy and similar. If they could move up to northern Sweden and start organizing their systems there, start with innovation, entrepreneurship, agriculture, and they can cooperate with municipalities, with the local levels, Norrland region, the Swedish government, and partly even the European Union at the same time. And they can cooperate with each other. So it becomes a very kind of cooperative, integrated framework, depending on what has to be solved, what's the problem, so to say. Now, here's a tricky thing. Now, everything what I've told you now about these decentralized citizenships and communities and the network states and bioregions, the thing is that I usually say like this, that technologically speaking, all of us on the planet, we could already today live in some kind of a, united world, planet, world federation, kind of a Star Trek society, where we are all connected and we are simply just solving problems and doing things peacefully through conversations and meaningfulness. But socially, the world or humanity is simply not there for many different reasons. Like the fact is today, let's say if you are born in Yemen, unfortunately you are gonna grow up with ideas that your clan or tribe is the most important thing in your life. And let's say if you grew up, let's say, I don't know, sadly in Belarus you have a dictatorship and authoritarianism and so on. And there are of course even problems in modern democracies, even in Sweden where I'm from, like that many people feel dissatisfied with how things are working today. They would like voting every 4 years on elections. Now the thing is like this, that since we are still living in a world where the word sovereignty is associated to nations, and decisions above the nations, besides, for example, the European Union, which is like a historical uniqueness for many reasons. So the United Nations is based on intergovernmental, interstate governance, decisions, and they are the only ones. So only the UN member states can decide who can be recognized as sovereign nation, because the number of the UN member states at the moment is 193. But there are more movements and proposals around the world to create some kind of a new, let's say, political nations or similar. And this means that it's going to be very hard, I would say more or less impossible, at least at the current moment, for these decentralized citizenships communities to really try to achieve some kind of a sovereignty and recognition from modern existing states. But at the same time, decentralized citizenships and communities, even if they, for different reasons, cannot replace modern citizenships, like being a citizen of, let's say, Japan or I don't know, Sweden or Mauritania, they can at least offer us some alternatives that are complementary, that enable cooperation between humans and initiatives and organizations, where modern public institutions, modern, let's say, political nations, unions and similar are simply not enough, or simply not interested for different reasons in solving different problems and challenges. So I think this is that decentralization in this sense is really one of the possibilities, one of the solutions for a near future. We're speaking now about towards 2030s, to really establish decentralized communities that can be very local and very global at the same time, in order to deal with everyday problems, everyday human needs, but also that through more complex and meaningful ways can contribute to solving, let's say, global problems and challenges. All right, thank you very much for listening.
I have a question that you showed that this sovereignty description here. You don't need to because the one of the main point why these decentralized organizations can't change the state at this stage, it's the sovereignty itself, because to be sovereign for the state you need earth, you need a piece of land. Yes, and of course we know communities that solve this problem. They just squatted a piece of land and claimed it's a sovereign state. But what solution do you think is best.
This is a very good point because I met people in this world of cryptocurrencies, decentralization, blockchain, Web3, and some Game B, who really have these ideas. They really believe in this. They want to create something new. But then you have this topic of land, of where do you actually have a territory, and why and why should a government like government of Lithuania. Now imagine that all of us now go to government of Lithuania and we say, we want to create a network state here in Garage. Can you please give us the right to do that? Can you give us this part of territory? So this place is not going to be anymore under control of government of Lithuania or even of the city council of Kaunas, but this is now completely like more territory belongs to Garage network state. Now this is a really tricky thing, but what I know is that several of these initiatives, like in the case of, let's say, of Cabin, they're really trying to find land where they can exercise their citizenship, where they can really practice the ideas they believe in. My personal problem, I used to be before in party politics, and I met so many people who say that I'm an anarcho-capitalist, I'm an anarcho-communist, I'm a, I don't know, anarcho-socialist, I'm a libertarian, I'm this and that. But okay, but what do you do in practice? Okay, you say you're a libertarian, so why don't you, why don't you use crypto, or if you're, I don't know, anarcho-communist, why don't you start some cooperative there? You have a lot of land in northern Sweden. Well, I mean, I believe in that, but I don't, really do that in practice. And I decided that that's not the solution. The solution is really to try to practice what you believe in. Be the change. I think Gandhi said that. Be the change you want to see in the world. Otherwise, other people will change you in a, from above, from the top down, in a nasty way.
Actually, I was thinking that political authorities, which is conservative, will not let anything happen like this in the national level.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
so to do it, it should be massive involved people, which is like also correlate with education. Yeah, I don't think that majority in any country in the world even close to the decentralized ideas or like freedom of movement. It was a project World Passport. I was like pay attention on it because like it was, you can buy it for 100, and it was a cases that people from Canada moved with that passport to United States with a fight at the border, like consider international human rights bills and stuff. And sometimes it's work, but only because you have Canadian passport and they know it. Yeah, it will not work if you're coming from Mexico to United States with that passport.
No, this is another thing that you're touching about. So basically, yes, like for example, you have the Užupis Republika, but it's a cultural project. It will be very hard for Užupis now to go to the Lithuanian government and say like, give us this land.
There is also Žemaitian passport, in Lithuania I figured out just recently, and it's very interesting cultural, something like that.
I can also share you one nasty experience. So when I was in politics, I told to my colleagues that, look, there is technology today that nobody has to be stateless. No refugee has to be, without papers. Why not, just simply use that as a technological solution? And I was told that, but do you really want every refugee, every person that is moving from a certain danger or similar, do you really want them to, have documents? Because then, all of them will be able to come to us, And this is a tricky thing because it is also about identification. Research says that most of us, let's say like 10-15% of humans at the moment, they would say that like they are world citizens in a very strong way, that they are like global citizens, cosmopolitans. Around, I would say 50-60% would say that they are mainly national citizens, like I'm a citizen of the United Kingdom or Canada. And then you have like maybe something like 40% who say that they are more subnational. Now this subnational can be everything from I'm more Catalan than Spanish, and it can be that I'm a member of my tribe in Yemen. And even, for example, even in Europe, we still haven't solved this problem of, when we speak about federalism, that it's hard to create a new member state in the European Union because our national governments are deciding who's going to become a new member state. So even if majority in, let's say, Catalonia would like to separate from Spain but still be part of the union, I don't know, Belgium will block Catalonia and then Spain says, okay, we will block Flanders. So that's how it is. Okay, any more?
I can also tell a story. Like one time ago, like when I encountered the police, I said I'm not. I don't have a nationality. I'm just an animal, and I can walk freely, you know. And they like, they just still they were very confused, like what I'm telling them. So they just forced me with handcuffs and took out all my stuff from. The wallet and then checked that I actually had like an ID.
I have
Hero.
I have an example. Adomas knows him too. The man who actually decided he doesn't want any numbers in his passport. He's against because he is a Dutch citizen, and in Dutch. Kings don't have numbers in passport, so he applied to the court and he got a passport without numbers, and every time police stop him, it's a headache for them. So that's how the people practice it.
So I wanted to mention there is lots of people who for some reason cannot use like exchange their passport and they're not at home. For example, people from Belarus who run from dictatorship.
Yeah.
And their passport expiring, and they organize that if you want to get new passport, you have to go back. So people very limited. They couldn't move. They couldn't extend documents, and this some kind of international agreement for these people to have some kind of passport which is not belong to country, to citizenship, but could be belong to country, like non-citizenship passport or something like this. Based on these ideas, could be already a solution for people who just can't realize their rights.
We have
to
already
move.
made this solution. Even technically, we have a product that's called Meta ID, and it's self-sovereign identity. Then you can have on your phone, and by demand you can share your data. But actually, as you say, it has a great resistance from those who pretend to be authority, or democratic authority, or non-democratic authority. Never mind, because it means involving these integrating this sovereign identity into the like building a new state without a state here. So it means we resign all the politics finally. So the political branch as it is won't be exist like it is.
Absolutely, and I think to understand this, the importance. The important thing here is that even in a decentralized community, you can have politics, negotiations, disagreements, agreements, debates. What you don't need is political party politics. That's kind of the point, that you can have politics without political parties, you can have democracy without representative parliaments and similar. So
I think that's such an important point, because all the rules we are following right now, they've been made up by human beings. So why not question them constantly?
Yeah.
Why do we need actually land for a state? As you said, they are not combining land and the state, but they are combining ideas or constructs with the state. So this is just, and I think it's gotta be very smart people who are just considering everything there is so far, and they need to find those niches where they can find a place for them, or find a new. Yeah, like it's basically nothing is. That's the point. Like, it's very strict. We have a lot of rules, but this is a chance for us to be even more creative and to find even more ways to go around or underneath or wherever we need to go to get into this direction, or get to this direction.
it's the social world. It's the world we create. The question is, how we create it.
So I have this one idea I was just thinking about. It was like there's this concept. It's called the government's form. It's like technocracy, like where the specialists are making the decisions for like very savvy in their field to do some to create some like to act like as a politician, and the idea is like that the artificial intelligence that's like coming up is like this virtual very specialized, like it has the knowledge like as a best like specialist, like, and it will improve like that.
Yeah.
So how I'm thinking how it would be possible to create this form of technocracy where we don't even have politicians, but AI is like this thing that we manage and use it as a tool to structure our decision making and use like math and not just this spontaneous decisions, you know.
Yeah, the thing is, I think that, for example, Plato would have been very happy for his ideas around the Republic if there would have been AI at that time. So he would have been very happy today, I mean, regarding AI. The thing is, I personally, I mean, I'm not like against using technology for democracy. On the contrary, it's necessary to improve democracy. But I think that idea of technocracy in the sense that the AI is making all the decisions is also kind of partly dangerous, and partly it would remove democracy, because democracy still has to be done by us as humans, where we make agreements. You know, we have debates, the conversations, then we have to make some decision. But also I want to leave the AI back
the
for
idea
the
would
next
be to
presentation.
have decisions based on math, not just like this irrational, you know, human thing.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. But I think, Rokiti, would you like to answer that later on your presentation?
Can I take it in the next
Yeah.
presentation?
Yeah,
Because
okay.
I have
Like
a
what?
slot received for that. Because it's one of my passions.
Okay, so start.
Are you going next?
Yeah,
So
I'm
you
gonna
just more answer to give.
Now the situation is that, for example, like you say that to take like decisions based into mathematics, the problem is not the mathematics. Like all the mathematics and all the data that the people need to take, they are in there. The problem is the people at the top, because these people, they have the data, they know what is like happening, but they do not serve like the people that suppose that they serve.
You could build like this layer where people interact with this like higher level artificial intelligence system that would shape like how the person makes its own decisions, you know, like how to manage resources.
Yes, but the situation is that the people who is in the top, they are not going to allow that, because if you are in the top, what you want to do is to stay in the top, and you want your kids to be in the top.
Yeah, but we can create it ourselves for ourselves, not the people. Like I will just give me a moment. Imagine I build robots for myself that makes me food and like takes care of me. I just need like some resources, and I would build it for myself. You know, not to serve others, but just for personal use. You know.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
to cook, just
Is okay, like that's
just
perfect.
skip whatever
But
is
for
there's on
that-
the top. I'll just leave all the old system. I'll build a new one. You know.
Yeah, but for that to work, like you will need that everybody, for example, in this room, like they have something similar. And what do you think that the government is going to do when they found out that we do not need them? Because let's be honest. Basically, like if we were like able to do this, like we will not need like all that bureaucracy that we have like over. Of course, that some part of the bureaucracy is needed, you know, like to keep in control, like the state and stuff. But let's be honest, like for the rest, like these people, they are just leeches. That's the word. They are just living from public money.
Right. Guys, let's take a break, maybe like 10 minutes, and then we are back for the next presentation. We need
Okay, let's
we
discuss.
need some air, some reflections. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,